headline is the first impression you get when you give that content a nanosecond of your precious time. The same first impression when you walk in the office or a room and sense the atmosphere. Exactly the same first impression when you meet a new person and get their vibe before they even as much as open their mouths. When you select and copyright your headline, think about the first impression you need it to create in the audience you want to capture. This is more important than you may imagine because quite literally, the headline means success or failure. Welcome back to Building a Modern Employer Brand podcast. In this episode, we'll continue with last week's topic of copywriting for HR, and we'll talk about headlines that help your messages to get attention. My name is Susanna Rantanen, and this podcast is for those who want to learn how to use branding, marketing, and communications in the HR industry. One of the 5 key rules of thumb when copywriting for HR shared in this in the last week's episode of this podcast was making sure that your copy text delivers what your headline promises. And I always get very annoyed when I see a really catchy headline on social media or in an online newspaper or a magazine, only to find out that the actual article doesn't explain to me what the headline promised. I never end up reading those articles, which really makes them a waste of space for those media. The purpose of the headline is to, head the content that follows. And it's quite imperative that they go together, isn't it? A headline is the first impression you get when you give that content a nanosecond of your precious time. It's the same impression, same first impression when you walk into the office or a room and sense the atmosphere. Exactly the same first impression when you meet a new person and get their vibe before they even as much as open their mouths. Now, when you select and copyright your headlines, think about the first impression you need it to create in the audience that you want to capture. This is more important than you may imagine because quite literally, the headline means success or failure. In the previous episode 129, which was copywriting for HR, I explained the 3 characteristics of a great communicator. Now, I want to ask you, do you remember what those were? No? Okay, allow me to jog your memory. So, great communicators are understood. They know how to form words into clear and concise messages. Great communicators are interesting. They know how to win attention and captivate their audiences with their simple messages. And great communicators are inspiring change. Their messages inspire the audience to adapt to change or enforce change. Now, if your headline, the first impression your message must create, is a boring, complex, or irrelevant impression, your message will fail to attract attention. It will fail to inspire change. Instead of doing its important job, your message turned into a fluff that filled up another corner of the universe and nobody cared. And you don't want that. Nobody wants that. When we communicate to others, we communicate because we feel that we have something important for them to hear, for them to consider, and maybe even act on. Now, we may put a great deal of effort into crafting our message. We may use that time, time that we could have used elsewhere. So we want our audiences to pay attention and act on our messages, don't we? I mean, why else would we choose to spend time on crafting those messages? That's why we should care about the first impression too. And that's why we need to talk about the headline. Now, I've always found writing headlines quite difficult. And I've noticed that most of my employees and students are struggling with headlines too. Headlines are hard to write, especially the good ones, I might emphasize. Because I love writing and I write for work, I have put in a fair amount of hours in becoming a great communicator and copywriter. And I can tell headlines do get easier with practice and attention to detail. I mean, I study headlines quite automatically these days. Of course, we both see headlines everywhere, online, on social media, and I can't help myself analyzing what's good or what's bad about the headline that stole my attention. So I want you to start doing this too, because it's super useful for copywriters to pay attention to how other people write headlines or copy text. And that enhances our own copywriting skills as well. So let's talk about those first impressions our headlines must create. First, we need to notice that the first impression can be visual, or it can be in a text format, or it can be an audio. And the format also impacts the first impression. Secondly, we need to notice that the type of content used also impacts the first impression. Does the audience only see or hear the headline, or do they get a visual presentation as well? Are they able to read the first few sentences below the headline? If you think about a social media post or a social media ad, you can usually see about 1 to 3 lines under the headline that help direct your mind in a direction of some sort. If it's an audio, you only can use your ears, and the sound has an impact on the first impression. If it's a video, whatever is being shown at the beginning either supports or distracts the intended first impression. Sometimes you have 10 to 20 seconds time to make the first impression. Sometimes you have less than 1 second. So you need to be mindful about how you construct your headline depending on what else is there to support the intended first impression and how much time are you likely to get from your audience. So the thing is that no matter how interesting, how captivating, or how valuable the rest of your content is, if your headline fails to win that attention, your audience skips the rest of the message too. Just like that. So let's talk about the 4 functions of a headline. We can ask our headlines to deliver us 4 types of value. So number 1 is get us attention. Number 2 is help select our audience. Number 3 is deliver a complete message. Number 4 is attract the reader to digest the rest of the content. A clever headline is always a mistake, unless you can actually do clever headlines. But writing a clever headline that actually does the work is a form of art. And if you are not a copywriting artist for 100% certainty, trying to be clever and funny will bite you in your ass. The best headlines appeal to the recipient's self-interest and needs, not to the writer's self-interest and needs. How to get attention with your headline. There are a few tricks copywriters are known to use to get attention with a headline, and these tricks are specific words used in the headline. But before you get excited, remember that your headline is the promise that needs to be delivered in your text and thereafter. So only use any of these specific words when they truly apply. So here are words that help captivate attention when used in a headline. And these words are not just for talent marketing. I mean, if you start paying attention to any sort of advertising, marketing, promotional messages, you'll see that these are popping up everywhere because they literally work. So, free. Yes, literally, the word free. Because everybody wants a freebie, don't we? How to. Because one of the most Google types of content is how to do something. Why? Because we have a lot of unanswered questions in our minds, and humans are curious in nature and like to know why something is. Quick or easy, both appeal to our laziness. Humans like to get stuff done as fast and easy as possible because we are wired to use as little energy as possible. So that's why the words quick and easy appeal to us. Proven, guarantee, and results. Now, these win attention because, again, we want to get results as easily as possible. So we are always looking for tips and templates and examples for getting results faster with the promise that this actually works. So now you probably want to know, how can you possibly use these words in talent marketing? So let's try this out. Okay. Here's one headline. Free chance to win a seat in our in-house sales training for our new sales talents. How to find out the likely company culture of a prospective employer. Why do recruiters always ask this question? Quick template to write a good resume. A proven way to become a subject matter expert in your field and accelerate your career development. Would I win your attention with any of these headlines? I bet I would. So what about using a headline to help select the target audience for your message? So the point in using your headline to help win attention of the right audience is that you don't want to waste anyone's time as a recruiter, for example, to attract applications from candidates that are not right fit for your opening. So if you want to advertise a job, let's say a sales manager's job, and you pay by clicks, you definitely want to make sure only those people click who you want to click. So what this means is that instead of promoting a job for a sales manager, your headline is actually more specific in addressing, for example, an experienced, Swedish-speaking B2B sales manager for IT projects. Now that headline literally helps the audience self-select whether I'm going to read this copy text or not, this content or not. Now, how to get your headline to deliver a complete message? The wise advertising industry folks know that about 4 out of 5 readers only read the headline and skip the entire body text. And that's why you should include your key message in your headline. When I teach how to write career stories and blog posts, I always pinpoint using headings and subheadings as your key fields in delivering the complete message. That's right. I pinpoint using headings and subheadings as your key fields in delivering the complete message. So what this means is that when your audience skims through your content, because they're not going to read everything, they're just going to, check out the headlines. They actually get the key message from the headlines and don't even need to read more unless your headlines compel them to give more time for your text, and then they get the additional content as well. So here's an example. Including company culture content in your recruitment campaign can increase your reach by 150%. That's a key message in the headline. Including company culture content in your recruitment campaign can increase your reach by 150%. And then your copy text explains why this is and how you do it. How to write headlines that attract the reader to digest the entire body text. Sometimes you need your audience to read more than just the headline. If you think about internal communication during these times of change, you have needed your employees to give attention to more than just the headline. So when your information is new and complex, you need your audience to give it more attention, pay attention, and read the whole message. Watch the entire video, maybe even twice. Of course, you cannot share all that information in the headline, so the role of the headline changes. Now it needs to compel the audience to sink their teeth into the actual content. So how do you do that? The best tactics are triggering curiosity to know more, offering a reward, which is an informational reward, not money, provoking a statement, And here are some examples. So I keep telling our clients to share their struggles and victories during their change journey with their audiences, but I find that hardly anyone seems to have the guts to use this tactic to earn considerable attention, reach, and respect from their peers, from their stakeholders, from competitors, and from their talent audiences. People are curious to know how someone else has managed to overcome a heartache or a major business struggle. So the trick here is not to share just the pain, but also the cure. If you only talk about your pain, you appear weak. But when you talk about how you conquered your pain, you appear a hero, a strong and attractive hero that everyone in a similar situation wants to become, because you already managed to conquer your pain, overcome your struggle. So an example for the headline could be, what a Finnish construction startup decided to do during the economic depression to win in the business when the competition was going down like dominoes. Would you want to know? If you were a startup, you would. If you were a construction company, you would. If you were working in the construction field, you would. If you were managing a startup during an economic depression, you would. Yeah. So what's a powerful headline that can compel attention and get people to read the entire text, as long as it, of course, responds to the promise that the headline makes? Or another one, the 5-minute recruitment marketing makeover to get more candidates to consider your role than a 10K recruitment consultant. The 5-minute recruitment marketing makeover to get more candidates to consider a role better than a 10K recruitment consultant. So interested to read the whole thing? Headlines are the first impression of your content. And being strategic about what you write in that first line can lead to success or failure with your copywriting. So if you write a headline, the 5-minute recruitment makeover, it promises a quick, fast and easy solution to get more candidates to consider your role than paying 10K for a recruitment consultant to do it. You would be interested to read the whole thing and see if you could save 10K. Keep these things in mind and you will be on your way to writing great copy for HR. Do you want to learn and hear more about copywriting for HR? If yes, let me know on the socials. Let me know on LinkedIn, let me know on Instagram, or let me know on TikTok, and I shall deliver. Alrighty, that's all for this week, my friends. Come back next week for more branding, marketing, and communications juice to keep you going with employer branding, recruiting, and personal branding. My name is Susanna Rantanen, and I teach branding, marketing, and communications for the HR industry professionals who want to build a successful career and get the life you deserve. Thanks for listening, and until next time, happy writing. Moi moi.